Hey guys, really appreciate all the support you guys been giving me on YouTube recently. I've been having a ton of fun in season 9 and hope I can just keep coming out with videos to help you guys learn this game. If you guys want to use code Leon to check out with Focus, I'd greatly appreciate it. And if you guys want to go to my Nexus link and support me with buying some yemas, I'd greatly appreciate it. Love you guys.
Alrighty, chat. So since we can't press play, what we're gonna talk about is items. What items you should be building, what items you shouldn't be building, what items are situational, when are they good, when are they bad. So we're gonna start off with starter items, and I'm gonna just do a completely overview. So Sentinels, the way I like to look at Sentinels is I think it is one of the best. I mean, obviously for support, it's one of the best starters. Obviously, it's one of two, so best beating what? I think it's better than Benevolence. I think Benevolence is a more situational one for me. I think, like being away from, I think it just kind of depends on the upgrades, right? Like, if you want Compassion or Animosity, usually Compassion. But if I'm a Blink character, I don't like going Compassion because it destroys your opportunity for initiation sometimes. So like, you know, Shell, Bracer characters, I think I could see Compassion being very, very strong. Also with the extra gold per second. But I really do love Sentinels because of double upgrade, Sentinels Embrace or Sentinels Boon. So when do you get Sentinels Boon? When do you get Embrace, right? A lot of people always love to just go Embrace. What's up, Killer Heidi, man? Thanks for the 18 months, papo. Sentinels Embrace is usually when you're able to stick, you know, with the backline, for example, like, you know, Ganesh. Let's look at the characters for a second. Ganesh, Yemoja, Capri, Geb, Sylvanas, kind of, Fafnir, Emir, kind of, like those type of characters where you're sitting with your backline. In Warriors, usually it depends. Like there's some Warriors that usually like a Herc that you're 2-1ing back to your backline, so you're still gonna get a lot of value, right? So in that case, I think it's good. So, but when you get Sentinel's Boon, right? Sentinel's Boon is actually insane amount of sustain off a wave or a camp. But I think it's for more aggressive and more greedy supports. When you feel like even at level 17, the game's going to go a bit longer. So you're still trying to get that extra bonus gold and still sustain more. So for, you know, supports like Gilga, Erlang, Horus, you know, even sometimes maybe Atlas, but it depends. Atlas does very well with Embrace. But yeah, we'll keep overcapping. So now that we're done with Sentinels, let's talk about Boombas, right? What is Boombas? When did you get Boombas? When do you get Boombas over I? When do you get I over Boombas, right? Like, that's a lot of questions that I get. When do you get Mannequin? So I think Boombas is usually, it's pretty simple. I think it's when it's ability based. Can you abuse Boomba's hammer? And are you an ability based jungler? Hebo, right? I think, you know, Boomba Spear is really good, but I also, you know, Protector of the Jungle is really good. Boomba's Hammer, Tsukiyomi, you know, even some of Willix, you know, there's some characters that have a lot of value with Boomba's Hammer. Fenrir, Gilga, those type of characters that, you know, revive your spike as a jungler. I think it's always really important. I of the jungle, I would get usually on the auto attack characters, the characters that are not ability based, the characters that can farm. But even some characters like Bastet that are ability based, I still get Eye of the Jungle because it helps your clear. And I like the healing and sustain. One of the things I really don't like about Boomba's Dagger is that you need to kill the monster. It's not being close to it, but you actually killing it. And that can be a problem sometimes with your mage, you know, casting ability over the wall and kills the mid camp or the back camps. And you don't get the extra mana sustain, which actually destroys your next rotation. So that's something to always keep in mind with Boomba's Dagger. So Protect of the Jungle or Seer of the Jungle. Which one? When do you get what upgrade? Protect of the Jungle, I think, is when you're still in a spot where you feel like you need the extra prots in the jungle and you're still going to be team fighting for fire. But Seer of the Jungle, they're both really, really good for fire, right? One is you're able to deward and you do more damage. to bosses, to monster bosses, and the protect the jungle just gives you the increased procs and power when you're in jungle. So like, what is it that you want to do? You know, for Merc, I like Shear the Jungle because I'm able to blow up the fire right away, do whatever objectives I want. And Protect the Jungle is more of like, I'm going to try to 1v1 that jungler. I'm going to try to dive that mage and make sure I get the, you know, kill and am able to get out. So those are things to always think about. We'll move on a little bit faster. Gilded, you know, Gilded is always for the farm, and it's one of the, you know, prominent ADC starters right now. Tainted, when you're in solo and you feel like, you know, you need to slow down the healing of the opposing team. Hell, Afro, I'm sure you guys know all the healers. Raw, and you're a character that can actually distribute Tainted's passive very well. So, Warning Sigil as solo lane / support, but support, you know, you will fall behind, but so you have to get a lot of value from your early fights. So that's why supports usually don't get it, but Warning Sigil is pretty decent. Infused Sigil, you know, when you feel like you want to just dive their backline, Odin, you know, you catch them off guard with that passive. And then Sigil, the old guard, if you just want to not even think about it, but get extra damage mitigation, make it harder to kill, you know, die in those fights. Warrior Axe, one of the best ones, you know, last season and early this season, but has been nerfed a bit. Sundering Axe, you know, taking current health away, and Hero's Axe giving a shield equal to 15% of your health. If you have 3k HP, it's going to be a good shield to your team. Bluestone, pretty good in mid right now for those, you know, physical mids. It's good for solo, for, you know, Kokolin, you know, Tyr, King Arthur, characters that can, you know, keep that Bluestone proc on you. Obviously, it goes up to 2 stacks, so don't want to overstack. Want to make sure you are efficient with that. Corrupted Bluestone, the upgrades, I think, you know, just more DPS to, they have a lot of auto attackers, so I want to disrupt that and give it to yourself. If you're like a Chalk or maybe, you know, Cyrus, so you can get extra value from that AA speed. Leather Cow has actually been picked up recently, you know, it's been messed around with. Pretty much Leather Cow gives you, I think it's like, how would you compare this to Death Toll? Like, I think if you're not getting high value from Death Toll, like Cherry or something, I think Leather Cow is definitely a competitor. And upgrade, you know, to each their own. If you feel like you're by yourself, or, you know, in a double hunter, I would get leaders. If I'm hunter solo, if I'm only one hunter in the game, probably Hunter's Cow. Very rare I've seen leaders. Mannequin, the early cheese item that we all love because it's just cheeses everybody. Burning people for a ton of damage in the early game and getting, you know, early picks because of the Mannequin. I can see that always being something like on, you know, Erlang, you know, Gilga sometimes, Thana, and whatnot. Mannequin Mace, Hidden Blade, up to you. Obviously, if you have, you know, 2-point attack speed, 2.5, Mannequin Mace has some value. Mannequin Hidden Blade, usually the better upgrade, because you don't have the attack speed to, you know, make that value for Mace, which just makes you do a ton of damage to the first person hit, you know, percent that is. So it's good versus tanks. Let's move a little bit to the power items. You know, let's talk about where we're at. I'm gonna just give a quick update on like where these items, if they're strong, if they're not. Soul Eater is very strong right now, and like, where do you build it? I think, you know, Soul Laners can build it, junglers. When do you build it? In my opinion, I think you build it because it's a counter build option, right? Some characters like Cleo in the Soul Lane can get a lot of value out of it. And Pele, but Soul Eater does have a lot of value if you are punishing the opposing jungler. And mid, right? Mid doesn't get divine for some reason. Soul Eater becomes 10 times stronger. I would say 2 times just to keep it realistic. Same thing for you know, no brawlers, because, you know, junglers don't want to go brawlers. You could definitely punish it with Soul Eater. Let's keep it going. Runic Shield, something that really has been picked up recently. It's not the best. The stats aren't the greatest. But it's okay. I just think Antstyle is just a bit better usually. Executioner. I think Executioner is an item that you pick up when you have a double hunter, or maybe a hunter or 3 auto attackers. Xe helps, you know, attack, you know, lowering the prots of that person so that you can, everybody can single target that person. But if that's not the case, you're usually going to be picking up, a Silver Branch just because it has better stats. Joan's Wrath, one of the most loved items in the jungle. We all love that CD, pen, mana, and damage. Just I would say that Joan's is usually one of the best for junglers that are CD oriented, which is almost all of them. But some of them are like a clock cycle, like Thor, Thanatos, those characters that just want to run around and ult off CD because they set up ganks and create map pressure. ASTRAL, very specific item. Usually you want to just silence. Yeah, you're just trying to silence and interrupt, right? So Raijin, any characters that have, that have cast time, long cast time, ASTRAL definitely interrupts and makes it very annoying. Hebo and whatnot. Hebo blinks on you, threes you, can't, ult because he's silenced, interrupts this whole fight. What starter would you get in Pele Jungle? I'd probably get I right now. I or Mannequin because she's such a high pressure character that falls behind late game. Yeah, you too. I'm gonna be answering some questions in the chat. You can. Oh, you cannot see the questions in the chat. You can't. My chat's not working. Hey guys, if you're liking the video so far, it would mean a lot if you give us a thumbs up, and while you're at it, subscribe and hit the bell to stay up to date with the latest content. Thanks again for watching the video. And appreciate the support. Gauntlet is back after years of not being used at all. Gauntlet is back because Crusher got hit and got pretty much thrown out of the ADC role. Gauntlet is back. It's very interesting to see Gauntlet back. It's a slower pace. Characters like Jing Wei come back. Apollo. Characters that can get to the lane farm and take advantage of that big spikes. Steroid characters, anything with a steroid, anything with an attack speed steroid is really good. There's a Nami, Rama, Churn, Apollo, because obviously you could lifesteal more if you're attacking faster. Frostbound, prominent item in the solo with these death toll soul laners, correct? Osiris, Bellona, Ama, Berserker, Frostbound, always a pretty cute combo that can be used. And you guys know what that does, right? Basic attack hits slow enemies, Omega lol. But yeah, that is that. One thing I'll give you a quick tip about Frostbound is that if you see Witchblades in your game, you should think twice about getting Frostbound if you're getting it to slow down their attack speed. If it's just for movement and to stick, I definitely get Frostbound. But if it's to reduce attack speed, I think you should always make sure Midgardians and Witchblades are out. The Sledge, Sledge has been out. We have not seen Sledge in a while. I like to pick it up every once in a while. The reason I pick it up is usually 20% CCR and the passive. The stats are great around it. 250 health, 150 mana, 40 power, pretty decent power. But honestly, just been forgotten about. But I don't think, when I look at these numbers, I still think it's a pretty decent item in my opinion, right? 8 times 3, 24 prots of each. For the passive, so 24 prots, magical, physical, 40 power, 250 health, 150 mana, 20 CCR, pretty good. It's just sometimes it's kind of weird to fit into your slots when a lot of items are very important. Hydra's an item that is back, right? It's back. We've been using it a lot. Junglers, biggest reason it's back is just because they added pen on it. Adding pen on Hydra's was a huge change that just made the item almost a tier 1 item, if not a tier 1 item. It's one of the best jungling items right now. Obviously, auto-canceling. If you're a good auto-cancel, you understand. You're a good character, a good god that can auto-cancel. Hydra's just has insane potential. Blackthorn, one of the best items in the game, last season? And now it is kind of, been forgotten about, but still used by some solo laners. It is still a good item. 30 physical power, a little bit less than the other maces. The least, if that is. But with 400 health, the most health out of all the maces. 200 mana. And the passive helping you gain that 50 MP5 when under 50%. Under 25%. And when above 25%, you get 10% CD. So those are always things to think about. These passives are always very important. When do you actually say I need CCR? There is a lot of times you actually say you need CCR. It depends on what who you're playing against. For example, you're playing against a Kumba, a Thor, and Achilles. That CCR has insane value already. You're not going to be stunned. It's very hard to get stun lock at that point. And so that's where CCR becomes high value. You're playing, for example, against a lot of knockups. CCR lowers in value. Playing versus knockup and roots, CCR lower in value. Playing versus a lot of stuns, and slows, you know, CCR increases in value. So those are things to always think about. Brawlers is in an okay spot. 50 physical power, 15 pen, more than the other maces, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, the most powered mace. Obviously, reducing healing for 6 seconds. You guys know what this is for. It has good stats, so if you need it as jungler, it doesn't feel bad to build, that's for sure. Shifter, 30 power, 25 physical procs. When you look at it like this, it's pretty bad, but the passive does carry it a bit, but we don't really see it that often. When do you build shifters? I think you're building shifters in a spot where, like, you're trying to go hybrid, but you still want high power, and you have other pen items to make up for the lack of pen. So, you know, because gaining 30 physical power when above 75%, this is a 60 physical power item if you think about it, right? So it's a very strong item. Obviously, if you need those extra physical procs, say, for example, 4 fizz or whatnot, this is still a great item, still something to think about. Shadow Steel Shuriken, we have seen a little bit of this item recently. Some hunters have been picking it up after gloves if they need the counter healing, because Toxic just feels very awful in that slot. Shadow Steel has shown some life in that 2-3 slot. Runeforge Hammer, it was used a lot early in the season, but has stopped. You know, we haven't seen it as much. Still a good item. 35 physical power on the lower end, but it still gives a good amount of power. 250 health. We love that HP, but I think the biggest thing is the MP5, HP5, the sustain on the item is really good. I think characters like Najal that can stay out and still, you know, sustain it with a 2 is pretty good. Obviously, you need to take advantage of the passive, right? Enemies take 20% increased damage from if you get affected by CC. You know, for anything, right? So, you know, anything characters have 2 to 3 CCs or 1 to 2 is really good. You know, Najal takes advantage of that. Obviously, your ult doesn't work on it anymore, but you know, Gilga, you know, Thor, still a good amount of characters. Gladiator Shield, haven't seen Glad in a while, but I think sometimes you see it on solo laners when you still want that extra 10% CD and you still want those good stats, and you still, so if you're building a full prot build because you need to for frontline, Gladiator is that item that can help still give you that edge on, you know, a little bit of extra power and damage. So Cypher with the big 10 months, appreciate you, beautiful. So still in a pretty decent slot. So that it's for example, you go breastplate, you go Genji's, then you go you know, whatever, CAD shield, and then you go this Void shield, then Midgardian, right? Glad Shooter is a good spot because you're gonna get insane value out of your passive, and it still fills up that slot for 40% CD. Silver Bench, one of the best items in the game right now, no doubt. I mean, every hunter is picking it up. The pen on it, right? 20% physical pen, always going to be amazing. And characters with steroids, obviously, appreciate it a ton more. Like I said, Churn Rama, those characters that could almost get overcapped, but it's kind of rare nowadays in these builds, but still possible, and with upgraded purple and whatnot. So definitely an item should be picked up in the hunter role, in some assassin roles. One of the best items in the game right now. Crusher, wow, Crusher got crushed, if that makes any sense. Klepe Klapa. Yeah, Crusher got hit so hard. It took out a ton of attack speed. Still has a 15 flat pen and 40 physical power. So now when you look at Crusher, you're looking at it as like, okay, I need it. I'll take the extra attack speed. It's good with characters like Nem and whatnot. But you're thinking about the passive. So I don't think it's good in the 1 slot anymore, in my opinion. I think it's better in the 2 or 3 slot with characters like Nem. So for example, you go Joe and Hydra Crusher. I think that you're really strong in that spike because you're gonna get a lot of value from the passive, and you know you have that extra power to make that passive actually tick. So it's an okay slot, not the best, definitely much weaker than before. Icovale is in a weird spot. It's good, but not good enough to fit in any slots right now. But I think it's still good to counter characters like Merc, for example. Like if I'm a Nemesis and I'm fighting versus a Merc, Rama, Osiris, like I'm gonna pick up Icovale. Not a lot of people will think of building that, but it's still good, right? Especially with Nem passive, it's gonna kick hard, and you know that you're gonna reduce a lot of damage and attack. You know, obviously it's good. You just gotta think about when you build it. It's very specific. 21% attack speed. I think Crusher definitely got hit. Well, I don't even know how I'm answering. Whatever. Dominance is in a weird spot. Not weird, but it's a good item, but it's like, when do you throw it in? It's like, I feel like when you need that extra pen, when you go Silver Branch, right? But you still feel like this front line is ahead and is still able to just W key you without you being able to, return damage. I think Dominance just fills that slot very nicely. AMC, characters like AMC, Uller, those type of characters that even appreciate a little bit of the MP5 and the mana. Wind Demon got nerfed, I think, a couple times already, but it's still in a great spot. The passive will always kick, but now the passive, the extra pen comes from the passive, so you have to be, I feel like 2 items need to be built for Wind Demon to be good. Usually Rage, Deathbringer, Shadow Seal, Wind Demon, and those and whatnot. So that's what's up. Atlantis Bow is picked up, but it's like when you want to go crit, and don't want to pick up Rage, right? If you're a hunter, I feel like picking up Rage after, your gloves, you're never gonna get, you're autoing like 1.2 attack speed, and it feels really bad as a hunter. So I think that's when you stick in that slot for Atlantis Bow, because Atlantis Bow, instead of Rage, you're still getting that 20%, you're still getting crit chance, but you got lifesteal, attack speed, and power, and a sick passive where it can snowball fights. I would like to see how Bloodforge Atlantis Bow goes together. I feel like it'd be pretty nuts. I definitely want to maybe try it out. Actually, now that I'm making this video, maybe one of you guys try it out. Let me know how it feels. It makes sense on paper. Rage. Rage is always where it's been, right? You want crit chance? Rage is where it's at. You want to make sure you're confirming that insane damage? You know where it's at. Merc, you'll see me. If you watch my Merc videos, you'll see me pick Rage a ton. Cat Shield, a item that's been hit recently. Insane for healing, right? Healing increased by 20%. Just a stat-filled item. 100 health, 30 of each prot, 25 physical power. Characters like Shiva, Guan, maybe Fen. Can't think off the top of my head, but any characters with healing. Maybe even your team has healing. Hell, just a good item, honestly. Aussie has definitely got hit really hard, and you're not seeing it as much. 25 physical power, 15% lifesteal, 25% attack speed. The lifesteal, I think, is what got hit, and the 15 flat pen. I feel like it's just a tiny bit of stats, like of each, and I think it's spread out too thin, which makes the item a little bit weak for how expensive it is, in my opinion. And then on top of that, the passive is the beautiful thing, but you have to make sure you're playing completely around the passive. Titans got hit recently. As you notice, Warrior's Bane does not have the % pen on it anymore. You actually have to finish the item. That gives you 20% physical pen. But I do think, Titans is still one of the weaker options for pen. And unfortunately, because it should be better than it is. But hopefully we see, improvement on the item. Transcendence, one of the better items. Obviously stacking, for mid laners that are going to be clearing waves that are physical. Junglers that want to, appreciate the spamming of mana. And, Uller, for example, in a dual lane. So Trans is still that item that allows you to scale and make sure you have that power so you can buy other items, to help round out your build, whether it's pen, attack speed, crit, lifesteal, and whatnot. Void Shield, I just think is a dead item, in my opinion. 20 physical power, 45 procs, 150 health. It's like a little bit of nothing. Like 20 power, so like I might as well not even have power. 45 physical procs, that's okay, but it's really expensive for 45 fizz. I mean, that's a good amount of physical procs, and then 150 health. I feel like this is an item that you only get when you have a double hunter comp or something like that. You have like 4 physical, and on top of that, they have like 4 physical. So like, how often does that happen? It's so rare. So I don't see a reason for that item. Kin size. I mean, kin size just will always be what kin size is, right? Everybody building high HP items. Blackthorn is being built. Any of the hammers being built. Gaia's popular. Any of the high HP items. Kin size is just guaranteed to shred, right? Compared to the crit build. So kin size, silver bench, that build's guaranteed to shred. So triple frontline or whatnot, you should be taking advantage of that kins. Phil Knot is okay. It's actually got buffed recently, if I'm not mistaken. 40 physical power, 20 crit chance, 20 CD, 10 physical, so 10 pen. So like you need to think about, is your ult necessary? Like, is 20% CD on your ult necessary, or your abilities as a hunter? Yes. Okay, Phil Knot's good. No. Okay, there's better items. That's the way I kind of look at it usually. Bloodforge got actually buffed in price. 75 physical power, 15 physical lifesteal, 5% movement speed. I think 5% movement speed was added recently, if I'm not mistaken. And then killing enemies gives you a 200 plus 10 per level blood shield. So the thing about it is it does scale. So if you see people starting Bloodforge, they aren't getting the full value out of the shield, but it's still a good item that allows you to snowball fights and completely take advantage of you being ahead or winning skirmishes. DB, we love ourselves some DB, some Deathbringer. Improving your critical strike bonus damage is dealt by 30%. So, obviously you need a little bit of crit to back this item up. Because, if you have low crit chance, then what's the point of the passive? So that's always something to think about. It does have its glyph, its tier 4 upgrades, which I think this one, the Malicious, is pretty good for those, CD-oriented characters. And then Venom is good for those trading characters. Always something to think about. Heartseeker, I think is just that like 5 slot item as assassin when you need help in that damage department versus those tanks. Heartseeker are always able to provide in that field. But like I said, hope you guys enjoyed. I will be going over physical. I'll be going over like different items through these videos. I wanted just to go over starters and power items first, and make this like a little series and whatnot. Explain, maybe teach a thing or two to you guys, for some of you guys that didn't know something about these items, and maybe give you my tips and tricks. Hope you guys enjoyed. Thanks for watching.